Ryan of Square Bourbon, and in this video, going to be replacing the thermostat on the Square Bourbon, which is an '88 Chevy with a TBI 350 in it. The motor was said to be, by the previous owner, a good wrench block, replacement block. So I haven't really verified that. I haven't been able to get behind there and look at the numbers, but anyway, it doesn't really matter. So the radiator has a petcock valve on it down here. Down there at the bottom, you can see right there. And I had drained it. And the reason I drained it is I wanted to get all the water out of it. The tap water that I put in, from the hose. Last time I replaced the water pump, which is several years ago. Because I'm going on a trip, preparing for a 700-mile trip on this thing over the course of 2 days to move to Nevada from Washington. Now, when I did that, of course, I opened this up, opened the petcock valve, and drained it, refilled it. But while I had this off, or actually before I refilled it, while I had this off, the cap, I went ahead and let the truck warm up until it spewed water out of here because I wanted all the water gone. And I think what happened is in fact, one of the guys at the parts store suggested that perhaps some gunk or some rust got into the thermostat, because the thermostat's been sticking ever since. This thing has gotten way too hot several times for absolutely no reason. So I'm going to be replacing it. And I've got this Moto Rad, whatever that is. This is a high flow thermostat, and it's 180 degrees. And I'm not really sure what makes it high flow necessarily, but what we'll do is we'll compare when I get the old one out. So here's what it looks like. There it is, 180. So anyway, we'll get the old one out and take a look at the two and see if we can spot the problem with the old one too. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull it. There's a million videos about how to pull that. It's just take off that hose, pull the two bolts on the housing, and there it is. And then to seal it up, I've got some Permatex Ultra Gray here. They sell all kinds of different stuff, but again, guy at the store said he uses Ultra Gray and everything. He's got a square body, and he's never set me in the wrong direction. So went ahead and picked that stuff up. It was about $9 at the local shop called Cut Rate Auto Parts. And yes, they do call it crap for short. It said, in fact, they have bumper stickers that says "Powered by Crap," CRAP. Anyway, so they don't take themselves too seriously, and their prices are actually okay, and their service is kind of hit and miss, actually, but it depends on who's on staff. Anyway, so let's get into it. So as an aside, this is the stud that holds the, it's the bolt, and it's a stud. It's a stud bolt? I don't know. It's the one that holds the right side, the passenger driver's side of the thermostat housing on. And it also has these hold downs for the wiring harness. I had to open those up and get the wiring harness out of it, and then just go ahead and take it off and let it bend these brackets up, because I could not get a bolt underneath there, and it was pretty seized on there. So I had to do that. And it occurred to me also that I've never replaced this. I replaced the water pump several years ago, probably about 4 years ago, but this has never been out. And so there's that. I've never had this off. And here's the thermostat that is causing me trouble. Let's see if I can't get it to dislodge here. Yeah, gonna have to fiddle with that for a sec. But I've got my handy dandy Leatherman here, or my rather, this is a Gerber tool. This is a Gerber suspension. I bought this like I don't know, 10 years ago, and it's still going strong. What's nice is that you can use it with just one hand if you're like me and you're sitting here holding a camera. Let's see if we can get this out of there. There we go. Okay. So there we have it. Here's the thermostat that was in there, and that was let's see if I can see what that was. Yeah, this is a 195, which is what the stock is. And I kind of thought that's what it was. Let's look at this versus the new one. And they look roughly the same to me, but it does look like the opening is actually see if we can look at these maybe on edge. Yeah, if you look at them on edge, the opening on the high flow one is probably about 20% bigger, 10 or 20% bigger. So anyway, that's good enough for me. So let's see how it looks. Got some gasket material to scrape off there. So I'll grab the razor and scrape that off. Try not to get it down the hatch there. And then the hose, I just kind of put it over here. Tried to maintain its height so that not a lot leaked out. So that worked out okay. And then time to get this cleaned up and get that cleaned up. And for that, I have a tool that I like to use. All right, so I'm not going to do this too much single-handedly, but I've got this Harbor Freight drill and a wire wheel on it, and I'm just going to go ahead and wire wheel this. But I'm going to use two hands instead of videoing. There we go. And try not to gouge this wiring harness. So we'll come back when that's. All right, went ahead and didn't get too crazy with it because it looks like this is aluminum here rather than steel, and so I don't want to go too nuts with the wire brush. Still has a little bit on there, but a little bit of gasket. But I'm going to be using this RTV, so I'm not too worried about it. And of course, like this is I believe, well, that might be aluminum. That intake might be aluminum. I thought it was steel, but it also might be aluminum. So I'm not going to go crazy there with it. And so I'm gonna get these, make sure these surfaces are dry, and then break open the RTV and get it sealed up. All right, so I've got it all RTV'd up here. I'm gonna go ahead and pop it on there just like the instructions say, which is to pop it on and then get this smoothed out here, and then tighten it up just until the RTV starts squeezing out, and then stop. And then wait an hour, and then tighten it again to full torque, which is probably just good enough or whatever. So I'm gonna do that, and then we'll come back. Okay, so it's just barely tightened down. You can see some of it's kind of schwitzed out there. It says to tighten it down until it schwitzes out a little bit, and that might have been because me just dragging along the top of it, but that's as good as it's gonna get for this, I think. So what I'm gonna do is, and by the way, it does say in the box to make sure it schwitzes out. That's the actual term. And so I'm gonna let this sit for an hour, and then come out and tighten her up and hook up the hose. And then the directions say 24 hours before you do anything with it, but the guy at the parts store said he does it within 20 minutes. So I'm just gonna let this sit for an hour, and then I'll tighten it down, and then I think it'll be good to go. I'll get it warmed up, make sure there's no leaks. So the next thing you're gonna see is the truck running, and we're gonna check for leaks. All right, so I just got it fired up. I'm waiting for the temperature to come up. Gonna give it some gas here, and then what I should see it creep up to around 210 or just below that, and then once the thermostat opens, it'll drop right back down. So, and by the way, I checked the old thermostat. It felt kind of sticky when I was just trying to open it by hand. So it I put a bunch of force, then it'd pop open. I'm not sure if that's how they're supposed to go or not, but hopefully this one takes care of it. And of course, I did fill it with coolant. It was fairly down. I let a lot out when I opened it up, so it's got more coolant in it now. So we're just waiting for it to warm up. And of course, it'll use probably about a quarter tank to do that. It seems it's a Chevy, so you can practically watch the gas gauge go down. Just sitting here pulling a couple thousand RPM. All right, so the temperature is coming up. We're about to hit, let's see, 101. It's about 155. So let's watch it here. So that midway mark is 155, and it's this is a 180 degree. So it should be about, let's see, I'm guessing, fat finger here, somewhere around right there, like in between those. we'll find out here shortly, won't we? So it should come up between the first tick and the second tick, and then drop back down to around the first tick. Give it some more rip'ems. Alright, so it's been another minute or two, and it's just not warming up. So I think it's working, and I don't even know what this temperature gauge is just was supposed to be. We're assuming it's accurate, but it's just not getting hotter than that, and I'm okay with that. So time for a test drive to see if it's all good, and it should be. So now it's time to check for leaks. I'm guessing that the thermostat has opened at this point, just because it's not getting hotter than that. And there's the oil pressure gauge here. It does its own thing, but you know, we've got a little pressure, I'm sure. Otherwise, my motor would not be running. So anyway, so I think that's gonna do it for this video. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll throw on a bit from a test drive here. And if not, thanks for watching. See ya. Oh, I decided to just check real quick, and this is definitely super hot. So I know we're getting coolant flow through here, so that's really good. And check for leaks. Grab my Harbor Freight light here. It's pretty good actually. And I'm not seeing any leaks, so I think we're good to go here. Alright, so I got her all buttoned up and took it for a test drive. Just came back to my house, and the needle rarely went higher than that right there. I think when I was getting on the highway, it's a 4-lane highway that's open. It's got an on-ramp. It doesn't have on-ramps and off-ramps. You just kind of get on the highway and gun it. And I had it floored up all the way up to about 65 or 70 miles an hour. And it crept up right to that first tick right there. So when it was up to, and that's with a 180-degree thermostat. So when it was up at 210 and past 210, it scares me to know how hot this thing really was. It makes me wonder because I don't think this gauge is accurate. So I'm kind of wondering if I wasn't in the 230, 240 range. So I'm glad I didn't, blow a head gasket or something like that, because it still, runs fine. Although it's always idled rough, unfortunately. I'm hoping to find somebody who really knows their TBIs and maybe throw a Holly, not a Holly, but one of the stock replacement style TBI units on it that has a better computer and whatnot. Yeah, it can take a wideband O2 sensor. That's a future upgrade, hopefully. Anyway, I want to get this thing running better and better mileage, hopefully. So anyway, thanks for watching the video, and yeah, this isn't something I've really done before. It's been a really long time since I've done a thermostat. It's a small thing, honestly, but when you're about to drive your truck 700 miles, it's kind of a big thing to make sure it's not overheating. So anyway, thanks for following along, and take care. Bye-bye.